My cakes didn't always look like this. We all start somewhere, and in this video, I want to give you some tips of things that I've learned along the way to help me elevate my cakes to the next level. Hi, it's Karolyn. If you want to learn how to bake and decorate amazing cakes, then I would love for you to join me by hitting subscribe and the bell. So I want to make this video just letting you guys know that my cakes did not always look as good as they do. I was a beginner one day, just like you may be today. And I just want to give you a little bit of advice and things that I've learned along the way and some encouragement to keep on going. And just like anything, with some practice, you are going to get better. So just a little backstory. I started making cakes back in 2002. I can't believe it's been over 20 years right now. But I started making cakes just out of those shaped cake pans and putting the buttercream stars on them. They were really big back in the day. Now, making cakes, I want to say it's not easy by any means, but figuring out different designs to do and being unique does take a little bit of practice. And in this video, I want to share with you, I think I have 9 different cakes, and I want to show you cakes that I made in the past with the same theme as ones that I've recently made. And I want to give you a couple tips on the things that I've learned since then, which helped me make these cakes look so much better. I hope that makes sense. So just take these tips that I'm giving you and keep them in mind the next time you are trying to design your cake. So we will start with the first theme is a bowling theme. And oh gosh, don't make fun. But here is the cake that I made years ago. It was for my friend's grandmother. And look at the ball. Why is it so flat on the bottom? Look how I tried to pipe like buttercream around the bottom to hide the fact that it was flat. You could still tell. But anyway, with this design, it's not horrible. It's not a horrible design. You have the ball on the top, the pins around the side. It was for an 80th birthday, so I put the 80 on there and I have the happy birthday sign. And it's just, and I'm going to say this a lot, why do I love this word? But these older designs that I did were very trite. They were lacking originality. There's just nothing special about them. They're not bad, but they're not great. So fast forward to a year or two ago, I made this bowling cake. And do you see how it just looks so much better? So how did I get it to be more visually appealing? Number one, I added some texture with that buttercream splatter paint, and I have a video showing you how I do that, and I will link that in the description for you. The second thing is I made a 2-dimensional bowling ball rather than a 3D one. And when I started cakes, I thought you had to make 3D decorations. I thought that was a thing and you just had to do it. No, I am not good at 3D decorations. I'm really good at making 2D decorations. They look so much more crisp and clean, and it's just my thing. So doing the 2-dimensional bowling ball with the little hat on the top and the pin just looks a little more modern than having a bowling ball on top and the pins around the side. And then I decided to add different words like bowl and strike just to make it a little more interesting. And then I wanted to make a really big statement with the name, so that's why I made the name really big. And I have a video showing you how I make really big names, and I will link that in the description. And moving on to the second cake. And this is an owl themed cake. So this is one that I did years ago, and I really loved this cake when I first made it. I thought it was so adorable, and I loved the little owls and the trees and everything. However, what do I see now that is wrong with this cake? And I don't know how to say this, but I'm just throwing a bunch of different owls all over the cake and putting trees all over the cake. And it just doesn't seem coherent to me. Like I'm just putting the decorations on there. And the other thing about this design that I don't like is that it is 2 tiers and it is short and wide, because this was back in the day where somebody asked me for 2 tiers to feed 40. I think, and this is like a 6-inch and a 10-inch tier. And when I have I have videos talking about this. I like to build my cakes narrow and taller. I think they look so much better. And when people come to you and say, I want 2 tiers to feed 60 people, like I try to steer them away from that because it looks like this. Like you see how it's short and wide and there's a lot of space between the top and the bottom tier. It's just, I just don't like the way that it looks. So let's fast forward many years to this owl cake that I made, and look how it's a little different. So the owl has a little bit more visual interest. I did a really pretty number topper next to the owl, and I have videos showing you how I make number toppers like that, and I will link that in the description. And then I added that big statement bow, and I do have a video. I'm gonna keep saying that. I have tons of videos, guys. Just watch my channel. You can learn how to do all of this stuff. But I have videos showing you how to make a big statement bow, and I will link that below. And then I tried to add some more texture, like texture and detail in the background of your cake really does make it pop. So I did a little stenciling, and I have some polka dots on the bottom tier. On to the third cake. And that is this nurse cake. Again, it's the shorter and wider tiers because somebody asked me for 2 tiers to feed something like 50 people. And you can see that there's a big variation between the small top tier and that wide bottom tier. However, I made it work this time because I put the blood pressure cuff in the front of that tier, so it takes up that space and there's not such a big void there. However, as I look at this design, now I did the bottle of the pills spilling out and down the cake, and I'm gonna say this, and I don't know if this is for real, but I did that cake years ago with the pills spilling down the cake, and then I saw that everywhere, and I think I originated that. But maybe I didn't, but I like to think I came up with that idea. But anyway, so look at the bottom tier. The EKG lines, that ain't how it looks, right? And I don't know, one day I just decided to look up what that actually looks like, and it looks much different than that. So with this cake, the nurse hat, like, do nurses even wear hats anymore? That's such an old school design, so I don't think I would want to do that. The pill bottle is okay. The EKG line needs to be fixed. So fast forward many years, and I keep saying that, but I'm going to show you this nurse cake, and I have a video showing you how I decorate this entire cake, and I'm going to link that in the description for you. But can you see how the EKG lines look like the actual heartbeat? And I added the little heart behind it, and I still have the pill bottle on the top, but it looks much cleaner, and I have pills placed around the cake. And then to make it more modern, rather than that nurse hat that I had on the first one, I have some scrubs that have like a pocket of pills and the clipboard with a little prescription on it. So it just makes it look so much more modern and not so trite, because I love that word, and predictable. All right, theme number 4 is teddy bears. So I found this cake that I must have done probably 10 or 12 years ago. And it's cute. It's not horrible. The thing that bothers me about this cake is, number 1, the bear toppers are so tiny compared to the size of the cake. And I don't like the color distribution. So something looks a little off about this, right? Like, there's that blue top tier, which is pretty plain. There's not many clouds on it. And then that middle tier is green. I think I remember her saying to me she wanted it to be blue, pink, green, and yellow. And I put all these colors in the cake, but the way that I did it, I feel like it's not coherent. And the bottom tier, I don't know, like it's okay. I don't think the design is bad. I just feel like it could look much better. I would want to fix this cake by probably adding more white. I would probably make the bottom tier white on the background, amongst other things, you know, making the teddy bears bigger, maybe doing the baby name a little bit differently. And I have a video actually where I do make a cake that has a big baby word on it, and I'm going to link that in the description for you. How did I make a teddy bear theme cake look so much better? Here is one that I recently made, and I love this design. This one was so much fun to make, and I have videos showing you how I make a really big teddy bear. He's made out of rice cereal, and I'm going to link that in the description for you. But do you see, like I said, with the texture, I added texture on the bottom tier with a line impression mat, and I have videos showing you how I use impression mats. That'll be linked. Everything, just please look in the description. I'm gonna have tons of videos linked down there for you. But the bears are bigger and they really make a statement, and I feel like I have the color distribution looks so much better. So she wanted light blue, dark blue, silver, and white. And the brown is the accent color. So I'm not necessarily putting big decorations of every color on there. I'm throwing little pops of color in there here and there. So I just feel like that makes the design look so much better. Not to mention that I have improved on my 3D teddy bears. Now, like I said before, I don't like to make a lot of 3D figures, but I can do 3D teddy bears, Elmo, and Cookie Monster really well. So those are the only ones that I do, and everything else is two-dimensional. All right, moving on to the fifth theme, which is Phillies. Go Phillies. And I made this cake years ago, and look at the hat. All right, the brim of the hat is perfectly flat. It looks weird. I didn't know how to shape the brim, and now I do, and I have a video showing you how I make a hat cake, and I will link that in the description. But the Phillies uniform, they have stripes in it, so I added stripes to this cake, and I put the name really big on the bottom tier, and that looks okay. It looks a little weird because I think I outlined it with red icing, and I just don't like the way that that looks. And lastly, the ball borders, the fondant ball borders. Can we please stop doing that? That's one of those things that annoys me. It was big back in the day, and it took forever. It roll every little ball and stick it down and roll the ball and stick it down. I hate doing the fondant ball borders, and I just feel like it really dates the cake. And in comparison, I will show you this Phillies cake, which looks so much better. So again, it is 2 tiers with the hat on the top. Now the middle tier, that blue tier, I made a little shorter, and I have a video where I go into detail about how to get different heights and different serving sizes out of your cakes to give visual interest. But do you see how I made the hat look so much better? Because I know how to curve the brim, and the striped jersey on the bottom, it just looks so much better. And the Phillies name, and then I got into using my airbrush gun. So I added a little airbrush detailing, and that really just makes the design look so much better. Moving on to the 6th design, and that is this elephant cake. So this design, again, I feel like is very predictable. Again, it's a 3D elephant, and I am not great at making them. Is he cute? Yes, he's adorable. However, it's just okay. It's not great, it's not bad, it's just okay. And then the reason why I find this design to be so boring is just, number one, I wrote the name on there in icing, and that, while it's not bad, it's just, it doesn't make a big statement with the name. And putting the little flowers all over the place, that is one of those things I feel like many of us do when we first start making cakes. Oh, I'll just throw a bunch of polka dots on there. I'll just put flowers all over it and it'll look fine. And it just makes the cake look a little boring. So I recently did this elephant cake, and look how much better it looks. And I know that other elephant cake was 1 tier and this one is 2, but maybe I could just concentrate on that top tier. And you can see I did the elephant in 2-dimensional rather than 3D, and it looks so much better. And I added the color in there with those fondant balls. And I do have a video showing you how I make fondant balls, and I will link that in the description. So rather than putting little decorations all over the cake, I just have it concentrated down the front, and it just looks so much better. All right, the 7th theme is Alice in Wonderland. And I remember making this cake, and I was singing Painting the Roses Red all day. But do you see the little doorknob guy in the front? And I don't know why I put a big teacup on there. I guess the Mad Hatter's Tea Party, but I feel like that teacup, first of all, the teacup is huge, and I made that the statement of the cake, and I just feel like that is so big and everything else is so small that it doesn't really flow together. And she wanted it to say a very merry unbirthday on there, and look, this is another thing, along with those ball borders, can we stop writing big messages on huge custom cakes? Like, save that for your sheet cakes, right? So now if anybody wants to get a big message on their cake, I'll put it on a banner. I have videos showing you how to make an edible image banner. I'll link that in the description, but it just looks so much cleaner to put a little message on a banner than to write it on the cake. So this design, it's okay. There's just no coherence to it. Is that the right word? Coherent? It's not coherent. Like, I just have decorations thrown on there. And I recently made this Wonderland cake, and do you just see how it just looks so much better? Now, again, I know that this is 3 tiers and that other one was 1 tier. But look at the detail that I thought of in advance. I have the bark background on that bottom tier, and I do have a video showing you how I do that. I will link that below. The doorknob looks a little bit better. The other one was just all brown. This one is gold, and it has a little detailing in it. I added some flowers. There's the hat with the big bow, and the name I put on a name plaque, so that just looks so much better rather than having it written on the cake. And again, that first Alice cake, I believe, is like a 9-inch round or a 10-inch round. That's back in the day when someone said, I want one tier to feed 30, and I would just do it. And look, there's just so much space on the top of that tier that it just looks so empty. That would look so much better as a 2-tiered cake. Moving on to the 8th theme, which is a hairdresser theme. And this is just one tier. And again, this was back in the day when I thought that I had to make 3-dimensional everything. And first of all, why are they so small? Like, I don't know what I was thinking there. And I do like how I have the name in the front. However, I use the Tap It Curls letters, which looks okay. They were a thing back in the day, but it would look so much better with a bigger fondant name on there. And it just looks off because I made the decorations so small. There's so much extra space and the cake just looks boring. There's no decoration or texture on the side and it's nice, but it's not great. So I made this cake a couple years ago for a hairdresser graduation. And look, I do have my 2-dimensional decorations on there and I was able to make them bigger, and you see how they just look so much better. You do not have to do 3D decorations if you don't want to. You don't have to do 2D decorations if you don't want to. You know, you find your thing and you stick with that. But do you see how I added a bunch of color in there? So I have a nice balance of color, and I have the 2-dimensional figures on there and the name really big. And I decided to do little squares rather than polka dots just because I thought that would look a little different. And again, I know that the first one is 1 tier and the second one is 3 tiers, but you could just take a look at one of the tiers on there. So I could even do that bowl topper and have that bottom tier as a 1-tier cake, and it would still look so much better than my first design. And the 9th and final theme I want to go over with you is these stacked books. And thank you to Sharon Zambito. I love her so much. She was my cake mentor and still is. And I learned, I believe it was a DVD from her that I got back in the day when she sold DVDs. And I learned how to make a book cake and how to stack them. Does it look okay? It looks fine, right? Like, it's not a wow cake. It's like not bad for a beginner. I wrote on the binds. Is it book binds or binder? I don't know. I'm a moron. But I wrote on the sides of the book in icing and just wrote on the board in icing. I have the graduation cap, which looks a little lumpy. I have a video showing you how to make a graduation cap, and I will link that in the description. But it's just not a wow cake. So recently, I just made this kindergarten teacher graduation cake, and look how much better it looks. And again, buttercream splatter paint is my jam. I just think that it looks so cool. So I did that on alternating tiers, and the books just look so much better. I have a video showing you how to make a book cake, and I will link that in the description. But now I'm able to get really sharp corners on the book and make it look so much better. I did really big lettering on the sides and fondant, and I just have little decorations like those curlies, which I'm addicted, and I don't care, because I love them, but they make the cake look so much more festive. There's a difference between just doing the cake and then making it yours and adding a little pizzazz to it. So there are a bunch of examples for you showing you how I was not always this good at making cakes, and it is something that has progressed over time. And a couple important notes that I want to make is, like I said before, you do not have to do everything. If you don't like making 3-dimensional figures, don't do 3D. Figure out something else to do. That's why I do 2-dimensional. I have many videos showing you how to make 2-dimensional videos, and I will link them in the description. Did I say 2-dimensional videos? 2-dimensional characters. But I've said in other videos, like, I don't like to make flowers. It drives me insane. So if I have to put flowers on cakes, I'm going to purchase them and put them on there. I don't make tiramisu. I don't like to make decorated cupcakes. I don't make cake pops. I found my thing, which is cakes, and I get my buttercream icing very, very smooth. So I have a nice clean canvas to work with, and I have a video showing you how to ice smooth buttercream cakes that will be linked in the description. And I focus on my 2-dimensional fondant work, and that's my jam. That's my thing. And when you get really good at something, that's what's going to bring customers to you. Now, I have made thousands of cakes in my past 21 years of cake decorating, and did I like them all? No, but I will say this. I have learned so much more from the mistakes I've made than from my successes. Whenever I messed up on a cake or a cake did not turn out the way that I liked, I knew for next time to not do that and to try something else. And that is how I have improved. So I know it's easy to get a little discouraged when your cakes don't turn out the right way, but don't give up. Keep going. This is how we learn and this is how we grow. So I hope this helped you guys out. I am getting so many people asking me how I come up with my cake designs, and I am in the process of creating a course to help you guys out with that because there's a lot of information in my head and I need to figure out how to relay that to you. So stay tuned. Hopefully that will be coming out in the near future. And also, just a reminder, I do have a membership program now for my KakeAcademy. There are 3 tiers to the program. The first tier is a cake pop tier. It's just $5 a month, and you can support me with my content creation and also get some free and discounted extras that I release. Extras are like little PDFs and recipe books that I release. And then the top 2 tiers, the cupcake tier and the dessert table tier, you get access to my KakeAcademy with exclusive access to my Facebook group where we are having so much fun in there right now. We are bouncing ideas off of each other. If you have any issues, if you have questions on pricing, questions on design, you can post them in there. I'm very active in that Facebook group and I'm loving helping you guys out. And also in there, I will be going live. I'm actually doing a live this coming week on marshmallow fondant and how to get it to the right consistency to cover your cakes and to work on fondant decorations. So I would love to have you on board. I'm going to link all of that information in the description for you. Please like this video if you liked it, and if you are enjoying my tutorials, I would be so grateful if you could buy me a coffee. My link is pinned in the description. You can keep in touch on socials and check out my website. If you want to stick around, you can watch this video next and hit subscribe and the bell if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. And remember, it's cake. Have fun. I will see you on the next one. Bye.